Politics of the past is not the future for Grenada. This Sunday, March 22nd, is a historic day for us at DPM as we host the first Congress of the People at the Grenada Trade Centre. We are here this morning to discuss that historic event with you. And with us this morning is our interim political leader, Brother Peter David, and the interim chairman of the DPM, Brother Alistair Bain. So I will ask Brother Peter David to give us some opening remarks.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for giving us your time. As the chairman indicated, the announcement we're making today that we're having the Congress, this milestone that we call this Congress is this milestone, sorry about that, there were some challenges. Let me just, again, thank the chairman, thank the General Secretary for being here this morning. As he indicated, this Congress is a milestone. And this milestone doesn't belong to one person or to a small group of persons. It belongs to everyone all Grenadians who have decided that the politics of the future is different, that there is the future of this country requires a different kind of politics. We are not here simply announcing the formation or announcing the Congress of a new party. We are announcing the Congress because people are asking for a new kind of politics. If you've been listening to our message doesn't just advocate that we want people to vote for us. We are saying to people, we need a new kind of politics, a new dispensation, and therefore, this Sunday, we are going to be at the Trade Centre in Grandlands, and we are going to establish the formal foundation, formalize a movement with persons from all over the country, persons from all 15 constituencies. The delegates are going to be attending from all 15 constituencies. We are going to elect a national executive. We are going to formalize our constitution. We are going to announce some of our candidates for the next general elections. We are going to be participating in all of the constituencies. This Sunday, we are going to be announcing some of the candidates for the constituencies throughout the country. And we have done this the right way. Persons have been nominated from the constituency. The communities were consulted in the process. We've done our polling, and we've done a bottom-up process to arrive at the constituencies we believe the persons the movement has come to decide are capable of leading this country. We believe that Grenada deserves better, not simply a new party, not simply a new government, but we need a new way, and we need to have established a process that delivers for our people. And it is not about slogans. It is about, we have said in our program that this is not about rhetoric. This is not about just convincing people. This is about better results, a better way forward. We're talking about work that pays and stays, food that feeds us, healthcare that reaches you. Those are the main pillars of the movement. And next Sunday, we are going to be convening at the Trade Centre in order to formalize the process of establishing the new executive and all of the other structures of the Democratic People's Movement. I will have much more to say when you ask the questions, but I just want to address another subject. I want to address the subject of what is taking place in the world today before we move on. As everybody is aware, a war has broken out. In fact, some pundits are suspecting that this may lead to the Third World War. I am optimistic that it won't. I am optimistic that cooler heads will prevail. But the fact is The global system has been disrupted and will continue to be disrupted for some time. The fact is that we will have rising fuel costs, pressure on food production and imports, and higher travel costs. The war has already started to impact the Caribbean and impact the world at large. Small island states do not have the luxury of waiting. You know, we had the experience of COVID. Nobody expected COVID, but we should have seen the signs that one day we will have to do what is necessary to be more self-sustaining. So we are saying, the movement is asking, saying that is why we are calling for an immediate and meaningful subsidy to our farming community. The fact is, we already face high food prices. With this war that has broken out, with the impact it's having, with the blockage of the Strait of Hormuz, we expect the impact to be devastating for countries like ours if we do not prepare. So we are calling on the government to establish a subsidy, and not only a subsidy in the short term, a subsidy which encapsulates also going forward to ensure that we keep our food prices down. We need to strengthen our domestic food supply, so things like bulgur and fig, things that you know, during COVID, we of all persons know what happened during COVID. We must prepare for the impact of this war. We must prepare our people, but also prepare to feed our people in these circumstances. So we believe that the government must establish a subsidy, establish a dialogue, and establish a plan which involves all of our people to ensure that the impact of this war is mitigated as much as possible. We must not do like COVID to wait until the crisis is upon us. We can see the crisis. It is clear to everyone there will be a crisis. The bigger countries, they have mechanisms to deal with it. We need to put in place our mechanisms to ensure that we deal with the problems that will arise with the outbreak of this war, to ensure that our people are fed, that our society remains stable. I thank you.
Good morning to the press, and pleasant good morning to the viewing and listening audience. As indicated by my colleagues before, Sunday the 22nd, the Democratic People's Movement will be holding its first Congress. It will be a Congress with a difference. We can assure you of that. The production of the Congress would be no less that you saw at the launch of the party in November. We will be holding the same high standard. In fact, we will be improving on that high standard. As per usual with events like that, the morning session will be closed, where we deal with the business of the party, the formalization of the party structure, and that will be done in a very democratic and transparent manner, in accordance with our Constitution. In fact, the first order of business for the day after the accreditation processes is the adoption or ratification of our Constitution. And everything thereafter would happen in accordance with that Constitution. Following the election of our executive in the morning session, our afternoon session would be a public session starting at 2 p.m., where you would hear the speeches from where our executive would be introduced, our candidates, a complement of our candidates would be introduced, and you would have speeches from various party officials with the guest speaker coming in later in the day to address not just the DPM, but to address the people of Grenada. What is happening Sunday is not something that just came from a small group. It is a response to the groundswell that we have been feeling. It is a direct response to the pulse of the people. Over the last several months, we have been going into all our communities around the nation, listening to the people. And what we are bringing is politics with a difference, handing power back to the ordinary people. This is what the DPM brings to you. taking the power back to the people and responding to those people that we have been engaging in. And that's why we say all are welcome. Come on board, because the DPM is here. It is about the best of Grenada, delivering the best for Grenada. So we thank you. We look forward to having you there with us on Sunday. We look forward to the questions in terms of the process, the electoral process, the representation. And as I said earlier, it is all done in a very transparent manner. And not even nominations are welcome from the floor on the day of the Congress.
Thank you, Brother Bain and Brother Peter David. Now open the floor for questions.
You mentioned the guest speaker, but you don't call a name or you wish to disclose at this time?
The guest speaker would be disclosed later in the week, but we assure you it's a regional leader, and it's someone whose delivery will grab the interests of all across the nation and across the region. We can assure you of that.
Any particular reason why you're not disclosing all 15 candidates on Sunday? You're still looking to see who will say yes or no?
No particular reason except that we're confirming and tying up the ends on that. We don't want to make an announcement now and then. We have to change tomorrow. So you mean on the question of the guest speaker, correct?
No, the candidates. Yeah,
Oh, the candidates. Sorry.
And that's correct. We don't believe there is a rush, but as the interim leader indicated, we intend to field candidates in all 15 constituencies. So this is the first cadre of candidates that will be revealed. I'm not going to tell you at this point how many, but it's a significant component of the full slate.
Are you confident that basically all the different constituencies will be filled by DPM on election?
If election is called next week, all 15 candidates will be filled. Not just filled. We are not just filling candidates. We are contesting constituencies. And we are confident that we have a winning team.
Okay. I guess you will find that the one on the ground basically is that the DPM is basically starting to move by the ends. And of course, any vote for the
It's a what?
move by
Really? I haven't heard that, but go ahead. I haven't heard that at all. That's an interesting one. Go ahead. I have to wrap my brain around it. It's so far-fetched, but go ahead.
any vote for the DPM is in a sense a vote for the
Well, I know there will be DPM on the ballot box, and we have our own symbol, so I'm not sure what you're saying. But the bottom line is this about the DPM, and there'll be naysayers. You know, I've been in politics for many years, and there will be people who will try to distract. We are not fighting the NNP. We are not fighting the NDC. We are offering an agenda for development. We are offering, as we said and as the brother chairman indicated, we have gone to the communities. And we believe that there is a yearning among younger persons, among older persons, among persons who have been around for a while. There is a yearning, not for a new party, but for a new way of doing politics that does not continue to divide up our country and lead to the underdevelopment. We just don't want a situation where you have a change. We want a change that brings jobs, a work that pays, as we state. We want a change that brings health care, that reaches the people, affordable and reaches the people. And we want food from local production. So I am not sure what they're saying about other parties. In fact, we are not really concerned about what people, the negatives that are coming or the suggestions. What we are saying is that we believe, and we have been to the communities, that a new way of politics in Grenada is not only needed, but people are yearning for it. So no, a vote for the DPM is a vote for a better way forward, for nothing else.
Only my last question really. DPM offer, they say offer a new type of politics, right? But how do you respond to persons who see Peter David as a person that moved from the LDC to the LNP, now to the DPM? And asking themselves, what next?
Well, I hope they say that Peter has a whole heap of experience. I've been foreign minister, agricultural minister, labor minister, tourism minister. I've been in both parties. I have experience from both parties. There are many people in the room who voted for party X 5 years ago and will vote for party Y in the next elections. I think it's nothing unusual in that. I think most people know the circumstances of my move. But I don't think it's something negative. In fact, think about it this way, that Peter David was in the NDC for 12 years, and he left when he left, there was nothing negative said about him. Peter David was in LNP for 12 years. When he had to leave, there was nothing negative said about him. And now he's taken that experience from all of these parties, because you do realize that I played significant roles in both of these parties to now bring people from both parties. Because the truth is, it's not only me who is in a new movement. There will be thousands of people doing something new and moving away from these parties to create something better. So yes, I take the experience from all the areas I've been in, not only the two parties, from my experience in life, to bring it to this and invite. And there's a generation of people I want to speak to. Because if you look on our platform, you would see particularly skilled people, people who are concerned about the country, people who are not concerned about fighting each other. What I believe is that we, as a people, if we can come together, I believe we can build a better society. And the truth is, my dear brother, that in all the years I've been in both parties, I've never been known to be one who attacks people because of their political orientation. I have always said, and it's not a new thing I'm saying, that the tribal nature of our system is so divisive that it causes our development to be retarded. So yes, I believe we all come from someplace else, but we all emerge into this to build a better society. Not only myself, you and everybody else in this room were never members of the DPM before because it didn't exist before. But they will become members of the DPM and bring that wealth of experience and that wealth of knowledge and that wealth of wisdom into the DPM to build a new and better society in Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique.
And just to add to that, and I'll address both questions in terms of a vote for DPM. A vote for DPM is a vote for Grenada. And if other political parties or other politicians are panicking because of the impact they are feeling from the DPM, we are saying it is a good thing. It means that the message of the DPM is resonating across the country. And it's okay for them to panic. We are saying, come to the DPM because we are inclusive. We want to stop the hardcore division that is being driven across our country. It is time for it to end. That politics of fear, when we engage with communities, you have people who would call and message us and say, I want to participate, but I am fearful of what my appearance on camera would mean to me, to my relatives, or to my friends. And that's the reality that we face, and that is what we want to end. A person, a Grenadian, should not be fearful of making a contribution or commenting or making suggestions for development because of political victimization that may result from that. That's what we want to end. And in terms of who comprises the DPM, as Peter said, it's new. And as almost any political party across the world, you would have people who came from other political backgrounds. The reality is that that experience that they gained with whichever unit they were with, they bring that experience to help build a new reality for the communities. So have no fear. The DPM is here to serve Grenada. As I said, we want the best for Grenada from the best of Grenada, regardless of who you supported or who you voted for in the past, or who your parents supported or who your parents voted for in the past. We have to move away from that type of politics. And we are moving away from that type of politics.
A lot has been said about the high cost of living. I'm looking to the war in the Middle East, but the war in the Middle East is just recently. And so cost of living has been moving prior to that, right? And so that's a lot of talk about politics and politicians and how the system will be implemented to deal with that rising cost of living. Assuming that you win an election, how then will you tackle that kind of rise or increase in cost of living? That's not what we're looking for.
Well, yes, there is a challenge with cost of living all over the world. And the favorite response to persons who say we can't do anything is that, yes, inflation is imported. And it's a fact. Inflation is imported. Cost of living is rising, partly because of energy price, cost of energy, and other costs from the places we import our food. And that is the problem, that too much of our food is imported. And government after government has pledged to solve that problem, and the problem has not been solved. In fact, I believe that every year we imported more. I mean, we spoke about, when I was Minister of Tourism, we spoke about linking tourism, agriculture to the tourism industry, which would cause us now to produce more food and import less food. When you go to the supermarkets, it's imported. I think we need to do more. One example is the marketing board. The marketing board, for 4 years, the marketing board has not been operating. It was said that they will review it, and it's been reviewed, and the cost of the books are not in order. We need to find a way together to have more local production, to have persons eating more locally, to develop more local recipes so that people use our local food. And I know it sounds like a cliche, but the fact is, have we put enough into that? We're talking about building a hospital, I call it a hotel, a hospital for $350 million, US. Can't we find money to help our farmers produce more? Can't we find money to do more added value to our agricultural products? It's been done. And what we're saying, it was done in the past. We had nectars and juices produced in Grenada in the past. We can do it. I think we are just resigning ourselves to the fact that we want imported food, and we do it. So that is what I'm calling for now, particularly now. And we saw the impact in COVID, particularly now. We need to focus on our food production. We need to ensure that we eat more local food, and this must be done with the backing of the state, who must use its resources to ensure that we produce more and eat more locally. I think that will go a long way. Now, there are things that we must import and that we can't help. But certainly, food production can increase so that we have more local production. I think that is a major tool, and you will hear more about our plans going forward because we have persons working on these plans. But that is the essence of what we're speaking of.
Not necessarily in the Constitution, but in our policy documents and our policy statements. So that our food production, that is one of the major pillars of our policy. Food that feeds us. We hear us repeating that time after time. Food that feeds us. In other words, ensuring national food security. This is something that has been bandied around for the last decade or two. But what are the long-term plans? What are the medium-term plans? What are the short-term plans to take us there? There is a difference between a dream and a vision. We could all sit by and dream, but if we have a vision, then we'll work to realizing that dream. And that is what we are saying. Our vision is food that feeds us and ensuring that all the necessary steps are in place to come to that reality. Because we are still in 2026, mainly exporting raw material. We are packaging our sauce up and sending it to the US and to the UK. We are not doing any value added to send these things out. We are still sending out our nutmegs in bags. We are saying that it is time for us to look at premium markets and value-added agriculture in order for foreign exchange earning, but at the same time, ensuring that we have a culture of local food consumption. That is how we would attain those goals.
I want to say something. I know people are tired of me saying it, but I will say it nonetheless. That people have heard all these things said before. And in my mind, one of the challenges we have is every time we have a change of the status quo in politics, we seem to want to start over. Marketing Board is a classic example of that. Marketing Board was established in order to assist with food production and agricultural production in general. And people were tired of hearing me saying that I believe that we as a people all want the same thing. We want health care for our family, we want food that feeds us, and we want work that pays and keeps our young people in Grenada. Those are the three pillars we have. And I believe another pillar we talk of is unity. If we can bring our people together, not necessarily tell people to leave their parties, not tell people they have to abandon this party or that, but let us sit together as a people. You would find that we will make much better progress. Because the truth is, if you ask your neighbor what your neighbor wants, it is the same thing that you want. Except that our political system is so tribal that we have to fight each other. And I believe in the process, because I know there are people listening now and saying, well, why Peter this, why Peter that, rather than listening to the essence of what we are saying. If you disagree with me, yes, disagree and say, listen, no, not that way, this way. Instead, we are forced to treat others as enemies. As we say all the time, we have enemies also. Here, who are our enemies? Underdevelopment, poverty, lack of education, lack of jobs, high crime. Those are the enemies we have. The movement believes that all of our people, and we need to find a way. We may need to do some constitutional reform. We have a proposal to develop the constituency apparatus for people to come together within the constituencies. You will hear that outlined on Sunday. We believe, and the essence is that all of what we say can be done, but will be done more efficiently if we come together. So we are inviting people to come to the Congress on Sunday. If you're NDC, if you're NNP, come to the Congress, listen to us. Come partake in our discussions, come to the community events. I know people have been cultured, people have been socialized to believe that you must be each other's enemy. That is the nature of what colonialism has done to our countries, from Africa to the Middle East, way to the Caribbean. It has taught us and made us believe that we need to be each other's enemy. We don't need it. And if it's one thing I learned from being NDC and NNP, that NDC people want the same thing as NNP people. They all want a developed country. So let us find a way to do it. Let us find a way to do it and stop attacking. And I know people are listening right now and they say, well, Peter is at this, Archie is at this, Derek is at this. Listen to the content of our discussions rather than who is speaking, and maybe we can find a way to come together to build this country. Because after all these years, more than 50 years in politics, I'm convinced that it can be done, because I've seen it done. We can build this country. But first of all, we have to first believe we can, and then come together with our neighbors to do what the village needs. And from the village to the constituency, to the parish, to the government, we'll find a way to build this country.
Okay, you just said a while ago that the government is spending some of the money on the hospital. Okay, healthcare, of course, was also mentioned that is one of the top priorities in DPM. Right? So the government is actually putting system in place to, as they claim, improve healthcare. Are you challenging the timing of the project, the amount of money spent on that project? Because at the end of the day, healthcare is also that's right.
Yes, we have said, and I have said it numerous times, I'm not against constructing a new hospital. But there's a saying in Grenada, while the grass is growing, the horse must still find a way to eat. People need health care now. We need medication that people can afford. We need access to health care in the communities. We tell the story of the gentleman in St. Patrick's who needed oxygen and couldn't find it in a healthcare facility in St. Patrick's, so he died before he could get to St. George's. First of all, we need to be more transparent about this new hospital. $350 million today is going to be $450 million by the time they get it going. We have said that the Grenadians don't want an announcement. What you have is an announcement. And soon you're going to have a ribbon cutting, and soon somebody's going to say, well, we cut the ribbon already, vote us back into office so we can continue the construction. We know that. We've seen that play for years. I mean, we've been around. So we know that is going to be the play. Ribbon cut, stay with us, we're going to deliver a hospital. We have no difficulty, but anybody can build a hospital. The question is this: is the hospital the only solution for Grenada's health issues? People need access. We need a national insurance, health insurance. You know, and this is the difficulty, the problem with the divisiveness. The previous government got a long way to establishing national health insurance. The consultants were here. Archie can speak more to that than I can. When this government came in, they did just like marketing board. We have to review it. And it's being reviewed for the last 4 years. That is why I say to people, the divisive nature of our politics is just not politics. It is development. It affects our development. If the previous government started it, adopt it. Consult with the previous government. Sit and speak to people in the previous government who had an idea. Maybe you will tweak it. Maybe you will change something. But you just don't have to throw out the baby with the bathwater. And that is why we believe that unity is not just a phrase, it is a development issue. And with healthcare, we need to find ways in which we can deliver healthcare now. Medication. We need to find medication that is affordable. We cannot continue where people can't take the 2 tablets, they simply have to take 1 every week. I had a gentleman come to me last week, and one of his family members died. And I said, did he take all the tablets? He said, well, boy, he said he couldn't afford to take it every day. So you're skipping a couple of days. If you feel good, you don't take it. And that is a challenge. So yes, don't let it be said that we are against the building of a new hospital. That will never be our position, because maybe we need it. But is that where we want to spend $500 million at this stage in healthcare? Or is it better to find ways to get healthcare into areas of the community where it is best, and also to make healthcare more affordable? Those are some of the things that we need to have a national discussion about.
Just to add, in terms of the question on the hospital, we are saying that healthcare must be, it is a process. And primary healthcare, especially within the communities, it must happen, and it must happen now. Access to medication, we cannot be speaking about healthcare if you don't have access, not just access, but if you can't afford. access and affordability, but also we cannot build a new school or a new university if we do not train the persons who are going to operate those institutions. So training of our medical professionals, the treatment of our medical professionals, the salaries that they earn, those things have to be a component of that development. And for any major type of infrastructure, especially for healthcare facilities or educational facilities, you have regional institutions that provide some level of support. And Peter mentioned the whole question of transparency as it relates to that particular new hospital project. And I would want to ask, and I would encourage you to ask, what has been the PAHO assessment of that project? And we would like to call on those in authority, the powers that be, to speak to us about the PAHO assessment for the new hospital, because I understand that recently PAHO did a full assessment of the project, and that assessment was not a very favorable assessment as it relates to that particular project.
Yes, there is a slight increase. There are always these ebbs and flows of crime. Certainly, I remember a couple of months ago, about a year ago, there was increasing crime, and the only solution that was offered was to pass legislation to deal with the penalties for crime. While I have no difficulty with reassessing and maybe increasing penalties, that is one angle, we must get to the root of crime. And it is my view, based on my information, based on where I situate myself, that the young people, there is a lot that has to be done to have young people engaged in more positive activities. You know, many of the young people I represent come to me and say, Mr. David, I would like to establish a business. And they have ideas, the business they want. They want to do either something in agriculture or something in digital, some kind of digital stuff, some technology stuff. But there's no path. Why is there no path? They don't know how to get it done. And instead of them having a place to go to get that done, we get a place to put them when they commit crime. In other words, we can keep spending on prison facilities and policing and all that. Fine. But we need to find ways to help our young people, first, to get trained. That is why we speak a lot about training, more technical training in our schools. Our schools must be more oriented in that direction. We must help them establish businesses. One of the problems with businesses is that banks and our financial institutions find it easier to give you a loan to buy a car than to give you a loan to establish a business, because they fear that the risk is too much, that they will not be able the persons won't be able to pay it back. It means, therefore, that the state must intervene more in order to help our young people in a positive direction. Don't just wait for them to go the negative way, and then, I mean, how many prisons are you going to build? You're going to keep building prisons all the time? No. Prison is important for persons who deserve to be in prison, and I have no difficulty with that. But there are many young people, and I'm sure you, some of them, all of us here know young people who have committed a crime. If we get together in our communities, you know, for example, counseling. We had a lot of discussion recently about gender-based violence. We need more counseling. There are a lot of young people with issues, if you want to call it that. So we need to invest more resources in alternative methods rather than what was done, which is simply increase the sentence. Because let me tell you, people come out eventually. And if they come out worse than they go in, well, they're going to have to spend more resources. Maybe you would like to say something on that.
I would just like to tie this back to one of our pillar statements, and that is jobs that pays and stays. All this is part of that global approach in terms of addressing our social issues. Access to financing, as we know, especially for SMEs, For small entrepreneurs, it is difficult, but even the barriers to financing, even when these thresholds have been lowered or efforts are made to increase the access, you also have the challenge of support. Because you give them a grant, you give them a small business loan, but where is the support mechanism to ensure that business is successful? And that is why we are saying we would endeavor to have business hubs across the country, mentors, persons who have walked the road before, who can mentor those small business owners. So at the end of the day, we have not just create a business or give a handout, but we create a system that allow these people to success.
The problems of the nation and the solutions are not new. We're all aware of it. But parties get into government and you get into the slow, hard grind of running a country, of dealing with a public service that has grown competent in their position. How does a DPM administration deal with the slow, hard grind of government and of all of these dissatisfied, unhappy people who jumping from one administration to the next, looking for a solution to their problems? How do you deal with that? Against the backdrop that nation does not have an abundance of resources, neither financial nor human resources, to really tackle how far down our country has gotten.
You're absolutely correct, Kash. It's one of those fundamental problems that we need to address. And the fact is, you mentioned the public service, for example, which is critical. We have to ask the question, and we have to be clear about that. Is the public service fit for purpose? Have we evolved the public service to deal with the new environment that we have? Or is the public service just treated as a political tool? One government comes in, switches these PSs move, okay, somebody say these are NMPPS, these are NDCPS, and you just move people around, and you start all over again. So yes, people are fed up of hearing about the problems, promises to solve the problems, and then you get to the fourth year, which is what's happening now, and the problems still remain. That is why we have to come together and make some fundamental changes. So, for example, the public service. We need to bring the public service up to speed with the new way of doing business. I was reading recently about Singapore. I was looking at the Singapore model, and those are things that they addressed. The issue of how is the public service structured? Is the public service, do we have the capacity in the public service to guide the development? Do we have a national plan that we are following? Are things integrated into each other? Or are we doing something over here and doing something over there? Both things seem important, but then they are cross purposes to each other. That is why we need to have, and we can't go through all of it now. I agree with you. That is why we say people are fed up. Because we come and we give all these things that needs to be fixed. You get into government, and then you alienate the people who are there, maybe genuinely trying to fix it. And you go down your own path, and you realize when you get halfway down that you need to go back around. It is just madness, the way we run the country. So what we are asking, and what we've said, is that we need to find a way to pull all of those resources together. You make a critical point about the limited human resources we have. Two things I would say we need to do in that regard. One, we need to use all of our human resources. I need not ask Archie who you vote for in order to have him come on board to use his skills. His skills would be useful to fit the plan that we have. He comes on board. We cannot. Secondly, the diaspora. Grenada has a whole lot of human resources in the diaspora, and the technology is there to utilize those resources. We need to find a way to pull the diaspora, not only when we want a barrel or something to help us, not when we want people to vote for us, we send for them. We need to get them into the development path and the development mechanism of the country. I have said that, and it's not been established as official policy yet, but I have said that I believe we need a senator. Just as you have the business senator, you have the farmer senator, you have the labor senator, We need a senator who is responsible for the diaspora. The diaspora is a critical part of our Grenada development process. We need to have a mechanism that not just asks them for their help when we choose to ask them for help. So, for example, Ivan, and now a crisis is coming with this new war, we'll ask the diaspora. No, the diaspora must become part of our development process. And I think if we get a senator who is particularly responsible for that, maybe we can harness the human resources that we have existing outside of Grenada in all corners of the world. So yes, I agree with you in what you're saying, but there's another issue we need to address. Constitutional reform. Maybe we're the only country that has a constitution for 50 years, and we have not even tried to make a slight change to it. And that constitution came in a particular period. That constitution came in particular circumstances. That constitution came when society was at a particular level of development. Are you saying to me that that constitution will be good for us for the next 100 years? That's the way we seem to be acting. But you know what again, Calistro? When constitutional change was recommended, many people did not support it because of the tribe that they were in. I heard people say in the parliament, I agree with that constitutional change, but not under that government. That really doesn't make any sense. So, Calistro, we are passionate about this because we believe that we can fix the problems in Grenada together. We believe that the continued divisiveness, the continued tribal war is a major impediment, and we believe we can make constitutional change that allows the people in the communities to get together at a community level in order to offer the solutions and to be able to pull the politicians down, hold their feet to the fire at the constituency level, and demand that they do what is necessary, not for their persons, but for all of the people of this country. So yes, I was asked a question earlier, what did I learn? What is it? The people are saying that I jumped. Yes, I moved. I was in all three of the major political parties over the last 40, 50 years. And I learned a lot from them. And I believe that my experience, and our experience, but it's not me alone, our experience gives us the capacity to identify the problems of our development and to address them with the people. I believe we are well capable of doing that, but I also believe there's a whole generation of people out there in their 40s and 50s who are well capable of assisting in it. Let us come together to build this country. It can be done. I am absolutely convinced in myself that if we came together as a people, because as I said earlier, I was with the NMP, excellent people within the NMP. The NDC, excellent people within the NDC. Not all of them, no way you find excellent people 100%, but enough, I believe, in both parties for us to bring this country together and develop it in a way that you suggest we need to do, because people have become totally cynical and totally, of the view that maybe it can't be done. It can be done. You know it can be done, I know it can be done.
Well, it certainly is not going to be done in 5 years, which brings me back to another part of the question that I asked you. There are people out there with housing needs. They need housing, they need jobs, they can't buy groceries. You have all of those little issues that need to be fixed. Our resources are limited. Our welfare is almost non-existent, really. We don't have welfare to deal with the welfare needs of the amount of poor we have in our country. How do you get all of those fundamental changes happen? We have a history of kicking governments out because it's hard for us to go to the grocery, or the road wasn't fixed on time. How do you deal with those issues? And I almost said small issues, but they're probably the biggest of all the issues. How do you deal with that and stay in power long enough to change the structure of the country, constitution, public service, social attitudes, the economy? You have to be there, you have to have power to make those changes.
Let us not underestimate the capacity of our people to understand the issue you just raised. Let us not believe that our people are so foolish that they believe everything could be done at the same time. Let us trust our people. If we go to our people and sit as a community, for example, you go to a community, they have housing problem, they have road problem, and we say, this is what we have, then they will understand if you work with them in dealing with the priorities. But when you give, first of all, you tell the people, listen, I can solve all your problems in 5 minutes, and you get office, and 5 minutes passes, and you've done nothing. Now, if you overpromise, as this government did, then you can be honest with the people. You see transparency. The people know when they're being fooled. If we work with the people with a plan for development, with the limits of our resources, with the limits of our capacity, and we explain to the people, I have no doubt. I have absolute faith in the capacity of the Grenadian people to understand what can be done, what can't be done, and how we must do it. And then the other thing we have to do is to listen to the people. Because many times, and we've said this all the time, many times you go to a public meeting with politicians and we're shouting at the people and telling people what they want. Not for 1 minute did you listen to what they're saying they want, but you're telling them what they want. That is why we have the in-yard sessions around the country. We are listening because the people will let you know if they believe they can speak to you. But when you come over as you being the all-knowing, all-powerful, then you will have a problem. You're right. Because then you overpromise and you let them believe that you can solve all the problems. It is the people who will determine the pace at which you solve their problems.
And just to add to that, Callister, before you come in, the in-may yard, you might be amazed, as Peter said, at the capacity of the people. Because when you listen, they don't only tell you the issues, they tell you the solutions. But oftentimes, politicians believe that they know the issues and they have the solutions. But if you listen to the people, if you involve the people, if the people take ownership, not just of the issues, but ownership of the solution, I think we'll be in a better place and you will see better results as against planning around the next vote. Because we seem to plan development over our election cycle. What do I have to do to be elected in 5 years? And what do I have to do to remain in power? As against what are we doing? What is the blueprint for a long-term development, national development? So let us don't underestimate the people. Let us work with them. Because when they take ownership of these solutions, you'll be amazed that everyone would understand where we're going and why we are doing what we are doing at that particular time.
You don't seem to be doing the 5-year cycle planning very well either.
So let's talk about DPM. I see 3 people at the table. People are saying that the drums of war are going to be beating soon. You wouldn't say war, you would say the drums that takes us down the road to unity. But, we can hope. What is DPM looking like at the moment? People said you went quiet. I was hearing through the grapevines that you were on the ground, you were consolidating. Where is the party? I'm not sure if you said that in your opening, but where is the party right now? If elections were to be called 2 months from now, are you ready with 15?
Not just ready with 15, but ready to compete and to assume the governance of the country. This is where we are. We have been working with the people. We have been listening to the people. We have been building policies around what we are hearing from the people. And we have been ensuring that our political and party structure is solid and is in place within all constituencies. But as we said earlier, we are ready to compete in every constituency. We will not be rolling out our full complement of candidates on Sunday, but if we have to roll it out tomorrow, we are in a position to do so.
This is not the narrative. I have no more questions.
No, I want to agree with Archie. We're ready. I mean, we are actually persons who believe, and when you sit in our meetings, you would hear us, we believe that this country can do better, and we're working towards that. And we have found sufficient people. Of course, as she said earlier, that quite a few people have been expressing some fear. You know, there's a fear these days to participate in politics. And I said to my friend Colin Dow on a program some time ago that his generation is suffering from post-83 traumatic syndrome because they fear politics. And he agreed. That was the interesting thing about the question, the answer. He agreed. And there are quite a lot of people who can contribute so much. And I think one of the other problems, if I may add this, that people believe they can only contribute, well, I shouldn't say that. Society makes it appear that their only contribution can be when you're running. We want people to come on board to participate in the development of our ideas, to work with us. We have quite a few people who are with us, who are just, you know, sitting together and developing ideas. We need really to find more human resources, the point you made, within the political sphere. Because people have come to believe that politics is a bad thing. No, we have allowed people to make politics a bad thing. We've said, I always say, for evil to triumph, it is sufficient that good people say nothing. That is why, Kalistra, I've always said that we have to get more good people in, because more people with ideas, because that would help us develop the political process. But the idea that, I understand why. I mean, you get into politics, and before you sit down on that political table, you're saying all kind of things about your family, about who you are, what problem you had, things you didn't even know. I mean, I have been subject to some of the most vulgar criticisms. But, I don't bother with it, because as I say, and I tell my family all the time, if you're on your way home and you stop to pelt a stone at every dog that barks, you ain't getting home in a hurry. So I just ignore that and go forward. And I think people must understand, don't be scared of it. The less you respond to it, the better for us. In addition to that, we are developing a group of people into a think tank that is going to be processing new ideas. We'll be making an announcement on that shortly. But again, people may want to contribute with their ideas. People may say, listen, I have an idea in agriculture. I have an idea in foreign policy. I have an idea in technology. That way we can get, as you said, our human resources all engaged in development. Politics must never be seen to be just a tribal war that we call politics. To me, as you call it a war, that is what it is. But we in the DPM, we are believers in building a new society, and we are going to be ignoring all of that nonsense. And I say to people already, don't waste your time attacking me. You will not get a response. Because I will only respond if you tell me that our ideas on development, our ideas on agriculture, our ideas on housing is not working. Then we'll have a discussion. But other than that, please, stop wasting your time on attacking each other, and certainly on me. I am focused, laser focused on developing this country, and that is what the movement is about.
So I think I may have another question or two. Some young people a few days ago, maybe about a week and a half ago, presented a petition to the Prime Minister. Well, they tried to present it to the Prime Minister, but he didn't come out to meet them. The press secretary came. We talked about crime earlier. That sort of intervention and involvement by young people, how does the DPM view that? Are you looking at a framework where the young people, those who are affected by a lot of these problems, are part of creating the solution and moving forward?
Absolutely, Kalesha. We have a portion, a division within our party, Next Gen, arm of the movement. That
Gen Z, Gen Alpha?
Well, yes, we say Next Gen, you say Gen Z. It used to be called youth. And we have been absorbing a lot of their ideas. In fact, they are some of the most articulate. In fact, they come to us in all our meetings and pull us up, saying, listen, young people are not interested in this, they're interested in this, that. So yes, we have a mechanism in the movement that is going to be receiving the ideas. And certainly, they are going to be playing a leading role. When you come to the Congress on Sunday, you'll see them playing a leading role, not only at the center, but throughout the country in developing the ideas. Because the truth is, the next gen have some great ideas, but they believe that they have been left out. They believe that they only treated as persons come and vote. We only do things with them to get them to vote for a particular group, rather than really getting their ideas and allowing them to lead with their ideas. They don't believe that the existing parties have developed mechanisms for that. And that is why we have them in our leadership in order to help develop that.
Just to add to this too, our delegates, every constituency would have 2 next-gen delegates. They choose their delegates. And as Peter said, we don't tell them what to do. They come to us and they say, this is what we want to do, we want your support. And they are represented across all structures of the party. They have branded themselves. We are struggling to even remember the name, whether it's Gen Z or Next Gen. We know it's not youth. But we have to listen to them. The Next Gen, the woman arm, every constituency would be represented by the Next Gen delegates and the female delegates.
I feel like I have to send Archer and Zizi away. Let me also ask, the town of St. George, that's your constituency, MP David. But the town is a real ghetto. What's going on there?
I won't actually use that word, but I understand the point you're trying to make, that we need to do some development in the town of St. George, serious infrastructural development. Yes, there was a plan many years ago, and in fact, we are looking at that plan to enhance the town of St. George. But here's the problem. Again, lack of planning. The truth is that the city, I don't know if you've been to Cuba, there's Old Havana and there's New Havana. The city has been moving south. We have not even been planning the development of the south, far less planning how do we deal with the town when a lot of the businesses move south. Yes, we have to. The carriage needs to be developed. The town of St. George, parking is a huge problem for businessmen, business persons in the town of St. George. I have proposed, and this is just one of the proposals, 2 things that I have been championing. One, that we should, and there was a plan for it, do the, the reclamation, the continued reclamation in the area of the fish market going towards the Queen's Park. That we should continue that reclamation to develop a proper market, vendors market for vegetable vending, a big one with the water facilities and all the facilities that is needed for a new a good vendors market. To make the old market more arts and crafts with the present market. So there are plans out there, and there was a plan for that many years ago. Again, governments changed and it was never done. In addition to that, York House, for example, I believe the York House, which was the old parliamentary building, and I've said it publicly for many years, even when I was in both parties I said it, that the York House should be developed as a national archive and an art gallery on the downstairs, so that people can come and see Grenadian art in the center of the city and the National Archive upstairs, because these days a library is more like a national archive than it is, and put those facilities there. So there's a lot to be done. There's a lot that needs to be done for the town of St. George. But remember, the town of St. George also have people living there. We need to develop a housing plan for people in the town of St. George. And there's none of that. Bottom line is, there is no planning for ensuring that the town of St. George is developed in the way that we envisage it should be developed.
But the truth is, except for 2013 to 2018, you've been the MP for a very long stretch, including when you were part of the administration.
And we've done a lot. I mean, we've done a lot. And I can sit here and tell you, we have the Calata Road, the roads in Darbo, the roads in the town of St. George. We've done a lot. We've done the Tantine playing field. We've done the lights. We've done the pavilion in Tantine. We've done the Angel Hub Span House. I got Dimensions Budo. I know we did the Back Street Court. There are a lot of small projects. I can list 20, 30 of them off the top of my head. But they are small projects. Why? Space in the town of St. George for new big projects is unavailable. Problems in the town of St. George have to do with housing, and then you have the housing facility, the housing, the Chinese housing project that was developed. But land, there is limited land space in the town of St. George. That is an issue that is also being addressed. So yes, there's a lot to be done in the town of St. George, but there is not much space in order to have new projects and new development. It is more maintaining the infrastructure and enhancing the infrastructure in the town of St. George. But there's a lot that was done over the years, and people know that in the town of St. George.
My concern is more about the preservation. You talked about old
that
and
is the
new
point
Havana.
I'm making.
Not much seems. Have we passed any? Did you table or push any legislation that would protect the town? People are.
Of course. We had the library was not the library, the museum. Those things were developed. The museum was established. Things were established over the last many years. But we need resources to get it done. I agree with you. Resources need to be done to be available for them.
People are not building to code. People are not renovating to code. The town itself is no longer being maintained.
Because we are not
and I'm speaking, I know the constituency that you're in charge of has a lot of villages on the outside. I'm talking about the town itself with the markets.
But remember, being the member of parliament in the town of St. George doesn't give you the power to do what you're talking about.
10,000 doesn't stretch very far.
We get $10,000 a month to give our constituents.
So
for example, we are not consulted as members of the opposition on these issues in the town of St. George. So while you could say the MP, yes, is the MP is nothing more than the representative of the people in order to make the government aware of the people's concerns, which you can do, but you have no mechanism to get it implemented.
We had the Grenada fisher folk was on a ban, right? And the ban was basically Grenada's failure to adhere to certain demands made by the U.S. And so on. That ban, of course, denied fishermen the opportunity to export their fish to the U.S. Grenada, the government has recently made some efforts to seek alternative market for fish, and now that we hear that the U.S. government has once again given the green light to Grenada to export fish to the U.S. Not sure if that Grenada would have make certain adjustment to bring that initial problem up to standard, of course. But this is something that he doesn't want to happen. Particularly if you're dealing with fisher folk who their needs are immense, all right, and taking care of the domestic life and so on, the basic cost of living, fishermen, fisher folk, and thing needs to handle on a daily basis. A DPM government, what can be done, what would be done to prevent something like that from happening in the future?
Thank you for that question. And let me address it, first of all, in terms of what happened. There was a ban, as you indicated, and that ban has since been lifted. So I would want to, the DPM would want to, of course, first of all, commend all the persons, all the technical experts, all the persons involved in ensuring that ban has been lifted. What it tells us is that there are times we need to pay attention to the things that count. And we believe, similar to agriculture, that fishing component of agriculture, it has been given a lot of lip service, but it has not been given the proper attention. Because the events leading up to that ban stretched several years. Someone dropped the ball. We have not heard any comments or any recommendations for subsidies to these fishermen who lost that important revenue stream during that 6 or so months while they were unable to export to the US. We have not heard anything about that. We have not heard any question as to how we would ensure that things like that don't happen in the future. So while we celebrate the restoration of the access to the US market, it's like a child getting expelled from school because the parent did not follow certain rules, and then we are all clapping that the child is back in school. We are saying, yes, we are happy that those markets are restored. Unfortunately, I must add that out of every disaster, sometimes there are a bit of silver lining, and the new markets, we might say that is the silver lining coming out of this. But what it teaches us also is that we must diversify the way we do business. We cannot be wholly dependent on one market, and the lessons learned from that fishery experience, we should try to bring it towards our tourism and our other revenue stream to ensure that we diversify our markets so that in the case there is a fallout in one particular market, we are able to sustain, but it also brings back the question of local consumption and how we do business. These questions, we need to look at those to ensure that we have sustained, that the sector is sustained. The fisheries infrastructure needs serious revisiting. Because while we are now able to access that market, we still have the challenges of the berthing of our fishing vessels. And we hear the talk about persons who are making their investments, and these are hundreds of thousands of dollars in investment by ordinary people. But where is this support infrastructure from government? I believe that government has a responsibility to ensure that all our critical sectors are supported. So a fishing port has to be part of that conversation. The challenges faced by the sector and the Port Authority for the berthing on the carronage, that has to be addressed. It cannot be addressed by just kicking them out of the carronage, but it has to be addressed in the manner of finding solutions, both mid-term solutions as being proposed now, but there must be a long-term solution to that particular problem because the fishing sector is a critical arm of our economic development.
Do you have any more questions? If not, I'll make some.
Do you have, the DPM, have a long-term solution? Because I was surprised when all of that came up with the carronage and the National Fishing Fleet, that there did not seem to be a plan in motion or about to be set in motion at all for the National Fishing Fleet. Has DPM looked at that also?
We have looked at it. We think we have an idea of how it could be done, but as is the norm in the DPM, we do not bring solutions to people. We go to them, we give them the sketches that we have discussions with them, and we have them come up with the solutions. But we believe that there is a solution that can be implemented, and the timeline for that implementation does not have to be too long-term.
If you have no further questions, I just want to make some closing remarks. I want to, on behalf of the team, thank everybody for being present. I want to thank you for great questions, Kalisha, good questions. By the way, on the issue of the tongue of St. George, I was thinking as you, there's a lot that was done actually. The market was built with money from Venezuela that I sourced. The Tantine playing field was done, the Tantine, what you call it, not the stadium, the place, was done with money that I sourced in Venezuela. The housing project in Dabo, the road in Dabo, the road in Calata, the Tantine swing was done with my thing. There is a facility behind the fort. No, there's a lot that was done. I was not thinking when you asked the question. I was thinking more infrastructural. But even if so, then I could take claim for the stadium. It was built while I was MP in the town of St. George. But I won't do that because I was not in government. So it's a complex issue. But no, I have done a lot in the town of St. George, and I plan to do much more for the town of St. George, including enhancing the market, getting the new vendors market, reclaiming the land by the fish market, and extending more property going out. Grenada is a small island. We have to do much more reclamation than we've been doing. But no, we'll have a separate interview on the town of St. George and what my plans are for the future. But I want to thank all of you this morning. I want to thank those listeners out there who have been listening to us this morning. Let me just say in conclusion that we of the DPM believe that we can build a better country. We of the DPM invite you to be part of it. We don't come to you as if we have all the answers for all of the questions and all of the issues. What we have, I think mostly the biggest asset we have, is our willingness to listen to the people and to invite more conversations. That is why we've been going to the communities and we will continue to go to the communities. We believe that we can build a better Grenada. We call on Next Gen. We call on the persons who've been there for a long time. We call on everybody to come together to help us build. But mostly, for this week, we call you to come to the Trade Centre on Sunday. Come and hear us. Come in your green, your yellow, your blue, your red, whatever color you wear, however you see yourself. Come with us so we can move forward together. We are not in the DPM, cannot build this country. It is we, meaning the we of Grenada, who can build this country. So we invite you, we invite all of you to come to the Trade Centre. We'll be announcing our guest speaker in the next couple of days, and we'll be making some other announcements in the next couple of days. We invite you to come with us to be part of something new, something that we believe has the capacity to turn this country around. Thank you.